Don't you wish there was a simple, easy thing you could do at home to significantly reverse, improve, decrease the severity of your heartburn symptoms, your reflux, your GERD pain? Well, there is, and now we have proof. I'm Dr. Ken Berry, a family physician. Let's talk about a new study that's just been published that gives proof that a low carbohydrate diet is going to improve, if not completely reverse, your heartburn, reflux, GERD symptoms. I'm sure if you've been to the doctor enough times and seen enough specialists for your reflux, your GERD, that you've been told at some point that you need to eat a plant-based diet that's full of whole grain breads and fruits and vegetables, fruit smoothies, and that you should lower your intake of saturated fat. That's not based on any meaningful research. That's something your doctor just made up. We now have a randomized controlled trial in human beings. And in case you're not a statistician or an epidemiologist, that's the kind of research that actually proves stuff or disproves stuff. This study was done at Vanderbilt University in the Tennessee Valley Healthcare System. It was done on 98 men, half were Caucasian, half were African American. They had all been diagnosed with GERD by their doctor. So this wasn't just people who had some random heartburn. These guys had been suffering long enough they had received an official diagnosis of GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease, and they were all taking a proton pump inhibitor like Nexium or Prevacid or one of the others. They randomized these two guys, and now also this is important, keep in mind that the researchers, the investigators of the study, were blinded as to which diet the test subjects were getting. Now obviously the test subjects knew whether they were getting sugar in their diet or not, but the researchers were blinded to that. So none of the researchers' preconceived notions could slip into the research results, and that's very, very important. So the first step was to take everyone, all 98 of the men, off their proton pump inhibitor, off their Acifex, their Nexium, their Prilosec. They stayed off it for a week, and then they were randomized either into one of four groups. But I'm going to keep this simple because what this study proves is that a diet very low in simple sugars, that's added sugar, that's sugar in fruit juices, soft drinks, desserts, snacks, sugar added to spaghetti sauce when there's no damn need to do that. So effectively they broke these groups up into four different ones, but the one that I really want you to focus on is the one that got 62 grams less simple sugar in their diet each and every day. This is the group we're going to focus on because this is the group that had the most astounding results at the completion of this 9-week study. Another very important thing about this study is that it wasn't just the patient's symptoms that was recorded, documented, and tabulated. They actually, at the beginning of the study and the end of the study, introduced a pH sensor. They go through the nose and down into the esophagus, and they keep it just above the lower esophageal sphincter, up in the esophagus. And this actually measured for 24 hours at the beginning of the study and at the end of the study for 24 solid hours, the amount of times that the patients, the participants, had a splash of stomach acid come back up into their esophagus, and also how severe that was, how low was the pH of that splash of stomach acid. The group that was on the low simple sugar diet had a significant decrease in both the number of splashes of acid back up into their esophagus or their food tube, but also the severity of those splashes lessened as well. Both of these things were significant. The researchers did also record the patient's subjective symptoms of heartburn, reflux, GERD pain, and again, in the low simple sugar, who were eating on average 62 grams less of simple sugars a day than the control groups, they had a significant reduction in the pain that they suffered because they were having fewer splashes of acid and less severe splashes of acid, they just had less heartburn. They had less reflux pain. They had less GERD pain. And so several takeaways from this study. First and foremost, we now know that the usual dietary advice that a doctor gives someone suffering from GERD is just wrong. When your doctor says that, eat plenty of carbohydrates, avoid saturated fat, eat lots of whole grain bread, drink lots of fruit smoothies, eat lots of fruits and veg, that's not good advice. That's not based on any randomized controlled trial whatsoever. We now have a randomized controlled trial, which is about the strongest evidence that you can have, that was done in human beings who were previously diagnosed with GERD, previously had to take a proton pump inhibitor to control their symptoms. We now have proof that a lower carbohydrate diet that lowers the simple sugars in the daily diet is going to significantly lessen the pain and suffering that you go through each and every day if you have reflux, heartburn, or GERD. And for all you healthcare providers watching this, yep, I see you out there. I know you're watching my videos. It now is proven that when you tell someone to eat a plant-based diet or a diet that contains hundreds of grams of carbohydrates and scores of grams of simple sugars, you're actually doing harm. So you need to read this study in its entirety, and you need to adjust your dietary advice, especially for people who have been diagnosed with GERD, and perhaps for your entire patient population, a low carbohydrate diet that's as low as possible in simple sugars, added sugars, fruit juices, soft drinks, desserts, snacks that contain added sugar. You need to tell your patients to avoid that. If you don't do that, you are not honoring your oath and you are doing harm. Oh, and one more thing that's probably you don't care about. The participants that were in the low simple sugar arm of this study, they also lost weight. Now, I have several other videos on this channel that talk about GERD, heartburn, reflux in much more detail, and the diet that I recommend that actually goes hand in hand with the arm of this study, this randomized controlled trial, that showed a significant increase in the management of GERD, a significant decrease in the pain and the suffering that you're going to go through, but also a decrease in the amount and severity of acid splashes that your poor esophagus has to deal with on a daily basis. And I put links to all those videos down in the show notes below so that you could learn a diet that will actually improve your GERD symptoms by 80 or 90%, or in many cases, completely reverse your GERD so you just don't have these symptoms anymore. Fun fact for you, I used to suffer from severe heartburn, reflux, GERD. I used to take 2 Nexium every single day to control my GERD, and it got 80% better when I adopted a ketogenic diet, and now on a carnivore diet, I have 0 symptoms of heartburn, reflux, GERD, and I'm very happy about that. If you currently suffer from severe reflux pain, you know just what a miracle that is for me to wake up and go through each and every day of my life now with no reflux, heartburn pain whatsoever. It's kind of miraculous. I hope this video helped. This is Dr. Barry. I'll see you next time.